Okay, so tell me who's at the table that I can't see so I can record them as being in attendance, please. Allison, and did you say Eric is there also?
Marv's trying to figure out how to enter the ID. Are you sure you're not already in?
He's in. Marv is in.
You're in. Marv, you're in.
Did you say Eric? Eric and Allison are there?
And yeah, Allison's sitting here at a table with us.
Okay, how about Eric?
And Eric's here now too. Allison, are you going to log in? All right.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and proceed because this is being recorded. Matt is going to give you a little bit of a presentation, and then I'll handle the last few points for the meeting. It'll be short today. I'll turn it over to Matt.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I just want to give a kind of an update on the assessment part of this, and this is speaking of the market assessment. So I assume most of all of you, if not all of you,
we got the echo.
Is there an echo?
Just on our end, not yours.
Huh.
I'm going to shut the screen.
Are we okay?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So if you are in the current use program, all those rates stayed the same. So, you know, for the agricultural soils that we assess, they're all the same. They didn't change. That's kind of what we're waiting on these like surveys to come back. The ones that Andy has sent to everybody. If we are going to adjust those, we might not, even when we get all the information that we need, we might not adjust those. So this is speaking about the market side. And in the north end, the kind of Arlington, Oso area, the values stayed pretty much the same. The further south you go, they start going up higher. So, for example, in Snohomish, on the market side, the first acre was valued at $310,000 for 25 tax, and now it's at $350,000. And then in the Snohomish area, like Tualco, and then kind of Ben Howard Road area and off US 2, those areas went up to 350,000, and then Tualco actually 375. And this is based on, you know, limited sales. We looked at sales from 2023, 2024, and then we only had 2 so far that we've seen in 25. Overall, those 2+ years is 68 sales. And so we look at those, we analyze them. Our method for assessing land values is pretty uniform throughout the county. We essentially do, you know, kind of an extraction method where we look at all the improved sales in most places, because the ag areas are an exception, but in most places, over 95% of the sales or more are improved. So they have a house or they have some sort of structure, and we extract the value of those structures, and then we look at the residuals, and then we kind of figure out, you know, how we should adjust land rates. So we did a similar method though in the ag areas this last year, and for the improved sales, for example, that are not in current use, we had 33 of those 68 sales. So almost half of those sales that occurred in the ag areas were not in current use. So it does make it difficult because the properties are there's such a variety and they're so unique. It's hard to compare apples to apples. But also what we did to kind of figure out the new rates is we looked at some of the adjacent neighborhoods that are not ag areas, and we just kind of saw like what are those areas doing market wise. And so that was kind of like our method. In the ag areas, most of the properties are in the flood hazard area. And so the way we value those properties and any property that's in the flood hazard zone now is we value your first acre home site on the market side at, and then the remainder is valued at a flat rate. So we kind of say, okay, this, you have 10 effective acres, but all 10 of those acres, effective meaning, you can use it. It's not totally encumbered by slopes or, a protected wetland, something like that. And we say, okay, your 10 of your 20 acres are effective. So we'll value at, your first acre at 350, and then all the remaining 9 acres of the effective 10 will be valued at 6,000 an acre. And that's pretty much how we value all the properties in the ag areas. So we really are focused a lot on that first acre since most of the properties are in the flood zone. We'll be sending out value notices at the end of June. You have 60 days from that date to appeal. And if you really feel strongly that the value is incorrect, I would encourage you to appeal because long before a hearing would ever take place, we will respond to the petition to appeal the value, and we will set up appointments to look at the property and possibly make a correction. Going back to the variety, the uniqueness of the properties in these areas, especially the ag areas, it is quite possible that our data needs to be updated, that we do not have everything 100% correct. We go out to properties every 6 years physically, unless there's a permit or a sale. So if there wasn't a permit or wasn't a sale, it might have been, several years since we've been there. And so I would encourage everyone, if you feel like, hey, I'm not sure, if the house is assessed correctly or if the land is assessed correctly, call us up, the open space line, or Andy or myself, and we'd be happy to make an appointment to come out and take a look at your property and, possibly correct the record. So that's pretty much the update I had. So again, values increasing in kind of the Snohomish Valley, and then the Skykomish. In the Stillaguamish, they stayed pretty much the same. And then, as we go forward, we'll pretty much do the same thing we did last year using multiple years. But now we'll probably stick to 24, 25, and then the early months of 2026 for the next assessment. So yeah. Any questions about that?
Yeah, man. Can we talk about how you landed on 375 again? You say you looked at 68 sales over the last 2.5 years in ag areas, in ag land. Half of those roughly had homes on them. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so you went off of the actual sales amount.
Yeah. So
extrapolated that the value of the residential development on there was 375. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So for an acre, and this is an improved acre. So when we value vacant land, we put development costs on them, and they're pretty extensive, especially since the market in Snohomish County has gone up so much in the last 10 or more years. So if you have 375 for an acre and with a home on it, that same acre with no home, you're gonna probably subtract at least 50% and roughly 40-50%, and that is gonna be the land value. So because we give a lot of consideration, especially if you're in the floodplain, especially if you're near a river, especially if you have wetlands on your property, we're gonna discount the land based on that. And then, yeah, but in those areas, the areas that went up the most, which is the Tualco area, and then the area off US 2 is, we specifically look at sales in those areas. We don't look at all the ag areas together. We kind of look at them. I mean, we do, but when we're kind of getting into a micro analysis of the sales, we try to stick into those what we call neighborhoods. So we'll look at, only the sales that occurred in that Tualco area to adjust the Tualco area rate. And so for example, in that area, the homes that sold in Tualco and for that date range, so 23, basically 23 and 24, we had 6 sales. Of those 6 sales, their ratio of assessed value to sales price after we adjusted the acre rate is 93.8%. So we always try to stay around 95 if we can, 95 ratio. Because, if you're not chasing sales, it should be a curve. And so if your average is 93.8, you're going to have maybe a couple ratios in there that are higher than that. You're going to have ratios on one side and the other of the average. So, yeah, so that's basically what we looked at with the vacant sales. It's really tough, especially if they're in current use. Those ratios, when you just look at ratios, are all over the place. So, we'll have some land sell and we are at 30% of the sales price. And then we'll have another land sale where we are, our assessment is, 20% higher than the sales price. So it's very hard with these type of properties to really nail it down. So we kind of try to use a lot of different resources and data to kind of come up with something that we feel like is fair, but not chasing too much. If
So
that makes sense.
yeah, I guess really where I go to is if there's a home on a piece of property, I can see that having that value. But most of this farmland in the floodplain is no longer buildable under the current FEMA code. So it would never realistically accommodate a house because you can't get a permit to put a house on it.
Yes.
So
Right.
And that's something I didn't mention. We have gone through and we have not finished this project. And this is something you could call in about if you feel like this is one where we haven't updated, meaning a parcel, is that if the land we feel like could probably support an ag structure, but not a dwelling, then the value is 125 for that acre. So much less. Yeah. So we have added that just in light of what you just said with the restrictions on, getting a permit for a new house. We feel like it's probably less feasible than it is, possible. So we kind of just established that lower rate. And we did have some sales of, structures, no septic or drain field. And we felt like that 125 fit pretty well with those sales. And so that it's not too complicated or scientific. It's just kind of looking at the sales we did have and applying a rate to it. But yeah, so if you have vacant land and you're like, it looks kind of high to me, we are in the process of trying to find all the ones and converting them to a lower rate. Give us a call. Like I said, this period now where we send out a value notice throughout the summer. So a lot of our office is right now looking at permits for new construction. But my group that I supervise are the analysts who come up with these land rates, analyze sales all year long. This is our time where we can go out and we can really put boots on the ground and take a look at these properties. And if we have something that needs to be corrected, this is the best time to do it. So again, like, if you decide, what, this land value is whack, I'm going to appeal my value. That's good, but we could probably get the issue solved long before a hearing occurs. And especially if you were to call us, during the summer, because our rolls don't officially close until September. So After September, we have to do like an administrative value change, which is basically just more bureaucratic red tape. Until December, we can go to your property. Oh, we had this thing assessed wrong. We make the correction. We can certify it right there, same day. The treasurer hasn't, they haven't even gotten the information yet of what the values are going to be for 26 tax at that point. So, but once you get past September, then that's when the treasurer starts looking at our assessments, which we basically tell them our rolls are closed. Anything now has to be changed via what we call a manifest change or through the Board of Equalization. So again, till September, we can make any correction to our most recent assessment.
All right, that was my only question.
Okay.
Anything else for Matt before he has to go?
And that only applies to Ag 10 or Ag zone land.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like if you have, obviously you're in the current use program, you have a 20 acre or more parcel or parcels, you're not going to have a home site taxed at these higher rates. You're going to have an integral home site and it's going to be taxed at $1,400. So the large increases really only affect people who are less than 20 acres with a home or people who are not in the current use program, tax-wise.
Is this similar rationale for R5?
Yes.
Is there R5 in open space right here? Okay.
Yeah, so if you're outside of the Ag 10 zone, yeah, you could still be in open space, all the different programs. So yeah, there's a lot of R5 properties that are in current use.
I'm looking down the table, seeing if anyone else has questions.
Okay.
Just a reminder that you can always follow up later by email or
Yeah.
phone call with additional questions.
About
They don't,
the
there isn't an
acres,
expiration on.
does that have to be a different parcel? How's that work?
Wait, what was the question?
House has to be like 20 acres.
Yeah, so that's
it has to be right next to, or is it just what that person owns? Say like 10 acres here, somebody else has another 10 acres. Does that work?
Yeah, so the way the law is that if it is a single operation, so you could hypothetically, you could have 21 acre parcels owned by the same person or the same family, and that would be considered a 20 acre or more farm where you could have an integral home site. Yeah.
I have a quick question. The new Washington state bill that was just passed increasing
Yeah.
taxes, how does that apply and when does that take effect? And does that change this?
Yeah. So there's two bills. The one is addressing some of the venues. And I think the DOR says they're going to give us more clarification on how they're interpreting the bill and how the assessor's offices should interpret them. We're kind of waiting on that now. Which, by the way, the DOR has a new open space kind of representative. And she seems really, really capable and easy to work with. We've had some interaction with her. Her name is Janine, I believe. Andy, can you remind me of her last name?
Yeah, Janine Nemi, and she's been working with open space as the chief deputy appraiser in another county for a couple of decades. So she's very knowledgeable.
Yeah. So there's that bill that deals with the venues. And then there is a bill that addresses removals. And starting, I think in September, it was 7 years of back assessments that you had to pay comp taxes if you were to remove property. It's going to be changed if you have a home site. It's going to be changed to 4 years.
That'll be effective September 1st of
Yeah.
2025, but the Department of Revenue is currently working on updating all the clarification, the manual, the forms that we use. So we're still kind of in a transitional space around that.
Yeah.
About the venue we're talking about, what's the venue bill?
So I've read only a little bit of that bill. And I'll be honest, it doesn't seem to be too much. It doesn't seem to add much clarity to me. But I can say that for us right now, and again, we're waiting for more clarification, is that, it's all about incidental use, as long as the predominant use is agriculture. So you can have an incidental use. You can have, some company that wants to have an event on your farm. That is fine. A wedding, right? That's fine as long as the structures that are being used for those events are also used for agriculture. I mean, to me, that of the standards that they gave us, the Department of Revenue, that seems to be the clearest to me, is that, we just, what they say does not qualify is something that has kind of lost all its character as being an agricultural structure or an area used for agriculture. So obviously, if you have a parking lot and because you have a farmer's market or you sell pumpkins or trees or whatever, that is a complementary, improvement to the ag business. So that definitely qualifies. So I think what they're talking about, so for example, there is a property that has marijuana production going on at their farm. Because this is still federally illegal, even though marijuana could be considered agriculture, it does not qualify. So in that case, we would remove the area under that structure from the program. So we wouldn't say, oh, it's going to be an acre. It would be whatever we feel like that, for the marijuana production, whatever the area is underneath the structures or the, parking area, whatever it is that is encompassed by that marijuana production, that's the area we would remove from open space.
So with the state property tax, is there going to be an increase in the property tax then, or just the back taxes?
It's just the back taxes. That's, I think, the only thing the law addressed. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 4 years.
7 to 4.
7 to 4. Mhm.
So no increase in the taxes from the state bill that passed on top of what our county is.
So
Yeah.
if we're talking about tax, you're talking about the compensating taxes or just the property taxes in general? Just to clarify.
Increase in any of it.
So it's two different conversations. One is about the compensating tax. The other, maybe if you guys cancel your video and just go audio, that'll help our connection a little bit with you.
And I can also do this in email too.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we're always, you can always ask questions. It's not limited to just this window. Matt, do you want me to proceed with do you need to go? I think Matt needs to go,
do
you
have to
guys.
go. But yeah, again, like Andy said, like, our doors are always open for email and questions, follow-up questions. And then again, if you have an issue with your assessment, even the last assessment, but especially the ones we're about to send out in about 3 weeks, give us a call, and I'd like to set up appointments to take a look at whatever the issue is sooner rather than later, so we can go out, weather's nice, get out there, take a look, and, clean up our data if that's what needs to be done. So just definitely extending that invitation to everyone. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay, everyone, I just have two, what I hope are quick items. We'll reconvene about other things. I wanted to give you an update on the status so far. We've received 7 lease information sheets, and we need a lot more to be able to use that data for analysis. For this year's cycle, so 25 values for 26 property tax bills, that window's already closed for valuation. That's what Matt just gave an update on, so that, basically in some areas they stayed the same, and then the southern areas they went up. But this is kind of an ongoing thing, collecting this data. Whatever we can collect between now and next spring will be considered in looking at setting the following year's value rates. So it's not something we were hoping to get some meaningful data before we set this year's, but there's been some logistical challenges that are understandable with getting this committee reconstituted and getting things going. So thank you all for your patience with this process, and also for your willingness to serve. So this is going to be ongoing. Allison, I know you're waiting for a list of equestrian operations. I'm getting close to that. There's just some other time-sensitive things that have been interceding, so that's coming still from us. Everyone else, if you have any questions about, what you're supposed to be doing, or how to collect the data, or if there's a way that I can provide you with information to help you have a, roadmap of how to proceed, you can call me anytime. I'm happy to facilitate that. Does anybody have any quick questions right now about gathering the lease information data?
Well, you provided us with a form to fill out, so hopefully everybody is in possession of those and just has to make time to go interview people to collect that information.
Sure. And summer, I mean, I don't know. Of course, we want to be sensitive to the harvest season and how busy people are working on their farms versus having time to have these conversations. But again, it's just an ongoing information gathering process. So, but I just want to remind you all that I'm here to support this administratively. So questions, hey, I can't find this form. Hey, I don't remember what I was supposed to be doing. Whatever I can do to facilitate the communication, I'm happy to. So reach out to me anytime about that. And then Matt is not able to make these meetings that have been set up for 3 p.m. He prefers a morning time just based on his schedule. I'm wondering if moving forward, when we have them, they'll probably be more quarterly moving forward. Does anybody mind them being at noon or maybe even earlier in the day? I wanted to get a feel for your availability. And also, I realize that I've since learned that every other meeting coming up is going to be at some farm site. So I want to be sensitive to that as well.
Yeah, we'd probably be wise to choose meeting dates that are Zoom, or even a different day, you think, Eric? Maybe. All right. Well, if we're going to move into a morning time frame, I'm kind of disinclined to do something in the morning of an afternoon ag board, because usually that means our morning is busy doing everything so we can be away from the farm for the afternoon. So Eric might be right. If we're going to go to the morning time, we probably want to find a different day altogether.
Okay, well, how about if I just send a survey out to everyone about days of the week, week of the month, time of
Yeah,
day?
if we're going to be quarterly, then let's just kind of pick a standing, the whatever, a third Thursday of the quarter, right?
Okay.
Something, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll follow up by email for sort of a survey of what can work for everyone, and we'll go from there. And that was the last immediate item I have for today's meeting. Anyone else?
So you're saying we don't need to meet again for 3 months?
We don't need to have a formal meeting until the September meeting, but in the meantime, please be working on gathering information. Feel free to call with any questions or concerns. And then I will send out a survey about the next, like changing the meeting structure in terms of the dates and times moving forward. we'll work it out so that it works for everyone. And then, hopefully, and then, yeah, just, it's an open door, whether we're having a formal meeting or not. You can always call or reach out for support or instruction.
Okay, great.
I'm sure everybody has a busy summer.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, thank you all. I'll adjourn this meeting now. Have a great day.
All right, you too.